So today, we're uncovering this invisible, silent force that is literally surrounding you right now. I mean, it's a force that dictates whether plants grow, whether your devices actually power on, and crazy enough, whether your own heart keeps beating. We're talking, of course, about the profound hidden chemistry of acids and bases. Let's dive in.
Seriously, just imagine waking up tomorrow in a world where acids and bases simply cease to exist. It wouldn't just be a minor inconvenience, right? Much of modern civilization, and literally life itself, would just instantly collapse. Think about it. You'd have no stomach acid to digest your morning breakfast. Your blood chemistry would completely fail to sustain your life. Reaching for your phone? No way. It's totally dead because there are no acid-base reactions to drive the battery's electron flow. You couldn't even wash your hands with soap, and outside, the soil would just be completely barren. These substances are quietly, constantly maintaining balance every single second of every day.
Which brings us to Section 1, the illusion of opposites, everyday chemistry.
So at first glance, acids and bases present a pretty stark sensory contrast, don't they? On one side, you have acids like lemons and vinegar, and they taste distinctly sour, right? Because they contain substances like citric acid. But then on the flip side, you have bases like soap or ammonia. They don't taste sour at all. Instead, they feel kind of slippery to the touch, and they're uniquely equipped to dissolve oils. Our senses tell us they're vastly different, almost like these warring factions of nature. But as we're going to see, they aren't enemies at all.
Let's look at Section 2, widening the scientific lens and the evolution of models.
You know, science is really a journey of refining ideas. Way back in 1884, Svante Arrhenius gave us a foundational model, focusing purely on what these substances do in water. Acids produce hydrogen ions, bases produce hydroxide ions. Simple, right? But what about reactions without water? Science had to keep moving forward. So jump to the early 1920s, Brønsted and Lowry shifted the whole focus to the transfer of a single proton. And then, by 1923, Gilbert Lewis broadened the lens even further, focusing entirely on the exchange of electron pairs, which completely expanded the chemistry far beyond just hydrogen ions.
Notice how these definitions evolve over time. The Arrhenius model worked beautifully, but the catch was that it only worked in aqueous solutions. Brønsted-Lowry fixed that by looking at proton donors and acceptors, but then they hit a wall. It couldn't explain reactions without protons. That's when Lewis stepped in to look at electron pairs. The really incredible takeaway here is that each model didn't prove the last one wrong. Not at all. They act a lot more like nested stepping stones. Science grows by refining ideas, not abandoning them. Arrhenius is excellent but limited, whereas Lewis is incredibly broad and universal.
I love this part. Try to imagine the Brønsted-Lowry model not as some harsh chemical reaction, but as a conversation. Actually, think of a proton as a tiny gift. An acid willingly donates that proton. It gives the gift, and a base happily receives it. One molecule gives, another receives. It completely reveals that chemistry, at this microscopic level, is not about destruction. It's all about communication and finding that perfect equilibrium.
Okay, moving on to Section 3, the chemical ruler, measuring balance. So how do we measure this? Well, this continuous numerical scale stretches all the way from 0 up to 14. On the left side, anything below a 7, we have the acidic zone. This is where your lemon juice, your vinegar, and your stomach acid live. Then, sliding on over to the right side, anything above a 7, we enter the basic zone. That's populated by your everyday soaps, baking soda, and ammonia. And right smack in the middle, at exactly 7, we have neutral territory. It's just a really beautiful visual way to map out everyday items based entirely on their invisible chemical behavior.
Now, we've all heard the golden rule, right? Neutral always means a pH of exactly 7. Well, it turns out that's a massive common misconception. The reality is actually way more subtle. Neutral simply means the amount of hydrogen ions perfectly equals the amount of hydroxide ions. And here is the real secret. At different temperatures, that neutral point can actually shift away from exactly 7. I mean, science is rarely as rigid as a basic textbook headline makes it out to be, right?
And speaking of neutrality, let's talk about pure water. Pure water is what we call amphoteric.
Essentially, this means water has the extraordinary dual nature ability to act as either an acid or a base, totally depending on what it's interacting with. It is flexible, it adapts. And honestly, this remarkable chemical flexibility is exactly what makes water uniquely suited to support literally all life on Earth. How cool is that?
All right, let's zoom back out for Section 4, Real-World Equilibrium, Chemistry in Action.
I really want you to focus on this single number, 7.4. It might just be the absolute most important number to your physical existence. Human blood must strictly maintain a pH right around 7.4. If it shifts significantly, enzymes fail, proteins lose their structure, and our cells literally begin to die. So how do we survive? Well, every single second, biological buffer systems inside you are quietly negotiating, using acids and bases to maintain this strict equilibrium. It's basically a constant, invisible tightrope walk that is keeping you alive right now.
And you know, that invisible tightrope walk extends to almost everything we do. Think about it. Why does popping an antacid cure heartburn? Simply because the base in the medicine neutralizes the excess stomach acid. Why does soap clean grease off a frying pan? Because bases are chemically built to dissolve oils and fats. Why does your phone even turn on? Acid-base reactions are quite literally driving the electron flow in the battery. And out in nature, plants can only absorb nutrients if the soil pH is in a perfectly specific range. It's incredible. This chemical theory directly powers our daily reality.
Ultimately, in chemistry, opposites don't destroy, they balance. Acids and bases are far, far more than just sour liquids and slippery soaps. They are the chemistry of communication. They're absolute partners in maintaining order, ensuring equilibrium across biology, industry, and our entire environment.
So, we've seen how acids and bases, these seemingly complete opposites, actually cooperate to sustain life. And it really makes you wonder, if imbalance destroys life and equilibrium is a fundamental organizing principle, what other apparent opposites in nature might actually be secret partners working together behind the scenes? Keep questioning, keep exploring, and always remember to look for the balance.